Imagine for a moment that you're living during the late 1500s. Maybe you've heard about this new world across the ocean where men have become rich by growing crops and gathering gold. So you and a few hundred other people decide to do the same thing. You set sail for what would become known as the New World and find an island. It's perfect. There are plenty of natural resources and it doesn't appear to be inhabited by anyone else. So you build houses, plant crops, and settle in for a new life in a new place. Now imagine that a few years later, when the supply ships return to the island with food and reinforcements, nobody is there. All the buildings are abandoned. The town is empty and there are no signs of anybody anywhere. That might sound like a plot from a horror movie, but it actually happened right here in North Carolina. This is the terrifying true story of the Lost Colony of Roanoke. Before we get started, be sure to hit that like button for more videos. Also stick around until the end because we have a very special announcement for you guys. In 1587, more than 100 English settlers arrived on Roanoke Island, off the coast of present-day North Carolina, to start a new life in the New World. They were part of an effort by Sir Walter Raleigh to establish a colony in North America, which he named Virginia in honor of the Virgin Queen Elizabeth I. But from the beginning, their time on the island was fraught with peril. They suffered through a harsh winter, battled disease and scarcity of food, and struggled to make any headway against the thick forest that surrounded them. To make matters worse, they had a run-in with the local Native Americans, leading the English to fortify their settlement and prepare for war. By the time spring rolled around in 1588, they were ready to give up. They sent a message back to England begging for help. And thankfully, a rescue mission was launched to bring them back home. But when the relief ship arrived at the settlement, the colonists were nowhere to be found. The houses had been dismantled, the village was eerily silent, and the only clue left behind was a single word carved into a wooden post: CROATOAN. The mystery of the vanishing colonists has remained unsolved for more than 400 years. When the supply ship arrived in 1590, the colony was nothing more than a ghost town. Supplies left behind by the colonists were untouched. Their tools and weapons were still in place, and even their plates still had food on them. Everything suggested that the settlers had simply disappeared into thin air. Historians have put forward several theories as to what may have happened to the colonists, including starvation, native conflict, and migration. Some believe that the colonists, who were running low on food, may have ventured inland to find sustenance and never returned. Others suspect that they may have been attacked and killed by the local natives, with the word CROATOAN carved by one of the survivors as a warning to future settlers. Still, others believe that the colonists may have migrated to another area of the coast, perhaps in search of a more hospitable environment. But these theories fail to explain all the evidence. No bodies were ever found, nor any signs of a struggle, as if the earth had swallowed the colonists whole. And the mystery only deepens when you consider the strange tales told by the locals. According to legend, strange lights were seen above the island at night, and eerie whispers echoed through the trees. Some say the colonists were taken by an otherworldly force, while others believe they simply wandered into the woods and never came back. Whatever the truth, the mystery of the lost colony continues to captivate historians and visitors alike. Even today, some say that when the moon is full, they can hear the ghostly laughter of children playing in the woods around the island. And others claim to see strange figures moving between the ruins of the old fort. Is there something sinister lurking in the shadows of Roanoke Island? Or did the colonists simply vanish without a trace? The truth is, we may never know what really happened to the lost colony of Roanoke. But the mystery of their disappearance has inspired generations of writers, artists, and filmmakers, and it continues to captivate our imaginations today. Perhaps the most famous piece of fiction inspired by the Roanoke mystery is Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which features the Headless Horseman, a ghostly figure who is said to haunt the area around the lost colony. Of course, the mystery of Roanoke has also inspired countless other works of fiction, as well as numerous documentaries and historical analyses. One of the most recent documentaries to cover the case is the 2016 History Channel documentary The Lost Colony of Roanoke, which explores the various theories surrounding the disappearance of the colonists. But what do you think happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you could like the video, we'd appreciate it. We'll see you next time. As the sun began its slow descent over the horizon, casting long shadows across the island, a chill wind swept across the ruins of the lost colony of Roanoke. It was a sound that carried with it the weight of centuries, a mournful echo of a time long past. The year before, a group of explorers had stumbled upon this desolate landscape, a silent testament to the fate of the English settlers who had vanished without a trace some 400 years earlier. Among them was a young woman named Eleanor Dare, the first English child born in North America. Eleanor and her family had been part of a group of settlers who had arrived on the island in 1587, seeking to establish a new life in the New World. But within months, the colony was in trouble. Food was scarce, supplies were dwindling, and the settlers were on the brink of starvation. Then one day, a ship arrived from England, bringing with it the promise of salvation. But when the settlers emerged from their hiding places to greet the newcomers, they found themselves face to face with an apparition. Standing before them was a tall, gaunt figure with skin like white parchment and eyes that burned with an otherworldly light. The apparition spoke to them in a voice that seemed to come from beyond the grave, warning them of the fate that awaited them if they did not heed his words. And then with a final, "Beware," he vanished into thin air. The settlers were left trembling in their tracks, unsure of what to make of the mysterious visitor. But as the days passed and the ship remained, they began to relax. When the ship finally sailed away, they felt a sense of relief wash over them. They had survived the ordeal and now they could get on with their lives. Or so they thought. For soon strange things began to happen around the colony. Crops withered and died. Animals fell ill and died. And a thick fog rolled in that seemed to choke the very life out of the settlers. As the situation grew more desperate, the settlers knew they had to take action. They sent a message back to England for help, but when the relief ship arrived, it found the colony deserted. All that remained was a single word carved into a wooden post, CROATOAN. To this day, no one knows what happened to the settlers of Roanoke. But some say that the apparition was real, that it was the ghost of a Native American chief who had been driven from his land by the colonists. Others believe that the settlers were victims of a deadly disease, while still others suspect that they were killed by the Native Americans. The truth is, we may never know what really happened to the settlers of Roanoke. But their story continues to captivate us centuries later. As I stood among the ruins of the lost colony of Roanoke, I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness for those who had come before me. I could almost hear their voices echoing through the trees, their laughter and their cries blending together in a haunting melody. It was a sound that spoke of a time when these shores were alive with activity, when the settlers had hoped to build a new life in this new world. It was a sound that carried with it the weight of their dreams and their fears, their hopes and their struggles, their triumphs and their tragedies. I closed my eyes and tried to imagine what it must have been like to live here so long ago. What had it been like to explore this wild, untamed land and to carve out a life in the midst of the wilderness? What had it been like to face the challenges and hardships that had come their way, to endure the loneliness and isolation that had surely at times fallen upon them? And what had it been like to vanish without a trace, to leave behind not a single clue as to what had become of them? As I opened my eyes, I looked out over the vast expanse of the ocean and thought about the settlers who had sailed so bravely across the unknown. I thought about the courage it had taken to leave behind everything familiar and venture into the unknown. And I thought about the mystery that had surrounded their disappearance, the theories and speculation that had endured for centuries. I thought about the possibility that they had been taken by an otherworldly force, or that they had simply wandered into the woods and never come back. And I wondered if they had ever found peace. As the sun dipped below the horizon and darkness fell over the island, I felt a sense of awe and wonder at the mystery that had unfolded before me. The lost colony of Roanoke would continue to captivate the imagination of those who heard its tale, and its secrets would continue to be whispered on the wind for generations to come.